Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very, very senior professional from Philadelphia, USA, Annie Leib. Annie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
Thank you. Annie is the founder and CEO of Annie Leib LLC, as well as the Breath Framework Incorporated. She's also an author, and all of you know I'm very partial to authors. She's an author of a book titled Begin with the Breath. So Annie, we're going to speak about coaching. We're going to speak about your book and about the Breath Framework today. But let's start with coaching.
Okay.
What made you move from a senior corporate professional to become a coach?
It's a great question. So I was in pharmaceuticals for years, and I started to just feel kind of stuck, like I was just being treated like a number, and like I didn't have a say, a voice. I wasn't being heard, and I wasn't making the impact that I wanted to make.
Okay.
So I decided to go back to school and get my executive MBA in 2018. And in doing so, I was coaching a lot of people in my cohort just naturally. And they said to me, you know, you should be coaching. This is really natural for you. And I decided to start a coaching business because I was working with fellow executives and colleagues of mine in my cohort.
Right.
And it just sort of came naturally to me. So I started a business. And then I can tell you more about how I came up with my modality and my framework later, but that's how it sort of started in 2018. And then I really started the company in 2020.
Wow. So, I was wondering, when I started working in the corporate world, and that was 4 decades ago, coaching or mentoring was either done by a family elder or someone senior in the company who took a liking for you. Today, it's almost become a professional and people are willing to pay for it.
Yes.
Tell me about how coaching has evolved in your opinion and what has changed.
So what's changed is people are now understanding the value of what coaching can bring to someone's life. So I bring both a coaching certificate and my executive background, but also my life experience. I think that's the difference with coaching is it's really where your life experience intersects with your work experience. So I find coaching to be right at the meshing of personal and professional development. And so now people are starting to understand that there's real value there from not only what we've learned in school and life and work, but also what we've experienced in our lives, both professionally and personally.
Oh, wonderful. And, Annie, you said that you spend a lot of time in the pharma industry. My question is, how has your background supported your own coaching philosophy, your style and your values?
It's another great question. You ask good questions. So I think that a lot of my experience is geared toward the people that I teach and coach now are just like how I was.
Okay.
So they find themselves in a place where they're not making the impact they want to make. They're not communicating clearly. They're feeling stuck. That's where I was. So I use my experience of where I was and how I pulled myself out of it to coach them. My values, I have really, and I'll explain Breath Framework, like I said, but I've really dug deep and figured out what my values are. And my values personally are the same as my company's.
Okay.
So my values are love, freedom, perseverance, trust, and truth. And I embed them in every aspect of my life, both professionally and personally. And I work with them at the forefront of my mind and my heart every day. So I learned what they were by doing this excavation process that I teach when I coach.
Okay.
But I certainly didn't know them when I was a corporate professional. When I was a senior executive in pharmaceuticals, I think I knew them in the back of my mind, but I didn't really know how to use them and how to really focus on them in my life and hone in on how important values really are.
Very interesting. And, again, you come with some great experience and an executive MBA. Tell me, how have the people you have interacted with in your career and your personally, how have they shaped you in influencing to bring the coach out in you?
Well, I'm an empath naturally. So I feel a lot of other people's feelings, and I've always been really intuitive and connected to people. But I think, like I would say, my cohort in my EMBA class was probably the most supportive in saying, like, building me up and saying, this is really what your calling is. This is your mission. This is your purpose. You need to be giving and helping and healing and in service of others. And before we got on here, you said, a lot of this is about giving to others and giving back. And I think what I've done is I've made a career of that.
Wow.
Like I can help and heal and guide others every day and make a living doing it. So it's the best of both worlds.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And, when I was reading about you, you also bring a unique mix of power and vulnerability to your coaching. Help me understand these two diametrically opposite terms, and do give me an example as well.
So it's very interesting that you say that, because one of my favorite people ever in the whole wide world that I coached said that to me.
Okay.
He said to me one day, "You are the most interesting mix of power and vulnerability that I've ever met."
Wow.
And I think that like shook me. But I think what he meant and what I try to live by is you can be in your power and also be vulnerable.
Right.
It's not what you said, the difference, and it's not one or the other to me. It's both together. So I can stand in my power, know who I am, know my purpose and my mission and why I'm here, understand my core values and what I'm doing on this earth.
Right.
For everyone every day, but also be vulnerable and say, these are the issues I've had. These are my life experiences. I'm not always perfect. And if you know anything from my LinkedIn profile or my background and how I post and engage with people, I'm very honest and raw and genuine. I don't pull punches. I don't pretend like everything is great when it's not. I say like it is when things are successful or they fail. I talk about it. And that's really the true mix of standing in your power and knowing who you are, but also being able to be vulnerable.
Very interesting. And what would you say are some of your own unique perspectives that you bring to your coaching relationships?
The thing that I've always said to people is it's rare that you will have gone through something that I don't understand. Like I might not always have gone through the same situation, but I really understand what people are going through and they feel that immediately. The other thing that I do is I provide a warm and safe space for them very quickly. And I think that's unique because I think sometimes people get into coaching or mentoring or training and they just don't have a space where they feel safe.
Right.
It's very important for me to create that safe space. And I do that by using my vulnerability. And by saying, this is me, this is what I've been through, this is what I do, and this is who I am. And in doing that, I'm able to sort of create this platform or space for them, and they feel that right away.
Amazing. Now I understand your two unique positions of power and vulnerability. Fantastic. So Annie, one more question relating to coaching, and then I'll move to the other part of our discussion. It is my view, and I've discussed with many people, that culture has a big impact on coaching. There are some cultures where people say, let my work do the talking. Some cultures say, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this. Some people are, don't want to talk about what their achievements are, etc. My question to you is, how does culture impact coaching?
I think culture impacts coaching. Like for me, it's all about authenticity. And I know that word is overused, so I'm careful using that. But I will tell you that there's a unique rawness to what I do, where I have no agenda. I'm not trying to fake it. I'm not going online and acting like I'm someone that I'm not. So for me, my culture that I bring to the table and that they bring from their organization is very real. And if someone's going to show up inauthentic, I know right away. Because that's not how I am. I show up as real and genuine and authentic every day. That's who I am. That's what I bring to the table. And like I said, I bring that love, that freedom, that perseverance, and that trust and truth to everything I do. So, I think culture is very much affects again, that safe space that I can provide every day for that person.
Interesting. So let's now move on to the breadth framework,
Sure.
where you focus on the identification of a person's life purpose, value system, and core leadership traits. Tell me about this framework and the methodology you follow.
So breath framework is a modality that I created. Breath is a very important word to me because when I was at a very low in my life, I remember saying to myself, you can take everything from me, but you can't take my breath. That's mine.
Yep.
So fast forward several years, about beginning of 2020, when I'm starting to wrap up my executive MBA program, I started coaching some people in my cohort and they said, you should really start a business. And I decided, you know what? COVID is just hitting. The world is upside down. I'm going to start my own business. So I started an executive coaching firm and I created the breath framework, which is my coaching modality. And it's an acronym.
Okay.
So B is for begin where you are. R is reclaim your power. E is excavate your core values. A is allow. T is through, and H is heal.
Wow.
And so I take people on a journey, whether it's 3 or 6 months or 9 months or a year. I take them on a journey from their begin all the way through to their heal. And when I say heal, I mean a place of wholeness, of fulfillment, of alignment. That's a big word for me in my practice, executive alignment, because I feel that so many people I come in contact with are not in alignment. They don't understand who they are, their purpose, their mission, their core values, and I help them get there. So when I say healing, a healing place, that's what I mean.
Very interesting. And would you like to talk a little bit about each of the components of the word breadth that you just spoke about?
Sure. So begin where you are is really uncovering sort of where you're starting. And a lot of people come to me and they don't know where they're starting. They think they do. Oh, I'm here. But once we do some question and answers, they sort of get to a new place where they're like, oh, I this is something new. This is different than where I thought I was. So I help them uncover where they're starting.
Right.
Reclaiming your power is all about understanding where you're giving your power away. And we do that every single day with the way we talk, the way we communicate, the way we interact, the way we lead. And reclaiming your power can help you to become more resilient and adaptable and make more impact as a leader. Excavating your core values is all about leaning into your strengths and who you are as a person. So once you sort of figure out where you're beginning and you understand where you're giving your power away, when you can really dig deep into what your value system is and uncover what makes you, you become much more aligned. And that executive alignment comes into play.
Right.
When you allow, you stop controlling. So instead of the control in the beginning taking advantage of you, you stop trying to control every aspect of everything in your life. And what you find is, what we find together is that when you stop trying to control so much and hold on to the reins so tight, if you loosen and relinquish your control a little bit, life becomes a little bit easier and you can breathe and you're not so suffocated by every aspect of life. That's allowing. When you go through, instead of going around things. So a lot of times we'll sit in the discomfort of the feelings, you know, like, I don't like the way this feels right now.
Correct.
This is not a good feeling for me. Yeah, that's going through. You're stopping avoiding. You're not going around anymore. You're really going through and feeling the discomfort of life and looking at yourself in the mirror now and seeing who you see versus hiding.
Right.
And then, like I said, healing, which is the H, is really getting to that place of wholeness, personal freedom, oneness, fulfillment, and alignment. And so when we can get you from your begin to your heal, that's really the effort that I make when I guide professionals to get to their place of alignment.
Oh, fascinating. Amazing. Congratulations on this amazing framework you have developed. And I think would love to read more about it. So I must try and get hold of your book. But, you know, moving on, Annie, this framework that you have developed, and I'm sure a lot of your clients or your coaches are benefiting from this. How are you working with the younger set of leaders who are coming out, the millennials and the Gen Zs who are now getting into leadership roles? How are you using this breadth framework? And is this similar to coaching older leaders or is all the same?
That's a great question too. You know, most of my practice is focused on senior executive leaders.
Right.
So I'm not interacting as much with the Gen Z and Gen Y people. I mean, I have experience with that, but it's not where my focus is. So it's more of those people aging a little bit more and getting more seasoned and then getting into these senior leadership roles that I really have experience with. But I will tell you that they are more open and willing than a lot of the senior leaders.
Right.
So there's more of an understanding about mental health and misalignment, and so they're easier to talk to versus a lot of the senior leaders sometimes are like, oh, you know, I don't know about this whole coaching thing. What's that about? I've never done it. I'm not sure. But the best people, my target people, are open-minded and willing, but just haven't been coached yet before or haven't had success in coaching before.
Very interesting. Let me now move to your book, Begin with the Breath. And, you know, when I first read about Begin with the Breath, I thought it had something to do with yoga. But then now you've explained it in much more detail, and I will reach out and try and get hold of your book. Tell me about your book.
So Begin with the Breath is it's a collaborative book. So there's a group of coaches that I've worked with in the past that each have their own gifts. And what I did was I wrote the introduction explaining how breath framework started, like I did today with you, and what its roots are in. And then the rest of the book is everybody talking about how the breath framework has impacted their lives. So it gives like a real hands-on feeling for how the breath framework works and how it can impact your lives as a leader.
Interesting. And this book is available on Amazon and other platforms.
It is. This is what it looks like.
You can show it to us. Yeah. Wonderful. So I'm going to ask our viewers and listeners to check out Annie's book and then take your call. So now moving on, you know, my viewers and listeners love to get to know my guest a little better. So I've got 2 or 3 questions for you, what I say personal questions.
Okay.
Let me start by asking you, what would you say are 3 milestones in your life or your career?
That's a tough one. All right. 3 milestones. So I'd say definitely going back to school was huge for me. Going back and getting my executive MBA, just meeting the people that I met, having that experience of sort of like, I call it going to war. We went to war together, going back to school at age, 40 versus getting your master's at 22 is very different.
Correct.
We all had kids, we all had careers. The experience was completely different. So that was life-changing for me. The second milestone was starting my company. So deciding on that day to lean in and say, this isn't going to be a side hustle. This isn't going to be, a little side gig where I see if it becomes successful. I'm deciding today, this is a choice that I'm going to impact lives for the rest of my life. And my son said to me the other day, I said this on another interview. My son said to me, if you had $1 billion, what would you do? Would you quit tomorrow? And I said, Sammy, I wouldn't do anything differently. I would wake up and do the same thing I do every day because it's not like a job to me. It is healing for me. It's healing for my clients. I'm impacting lives every single day. I get to see transformation and leadership. It's amazing. So that's the other thing. The third thing I would say is probably just an ongoing, ever evolving milestone, which is being a parent. I think for me, I have a 10 and 12-year-old now. They're about to be 11 and 13. And the experience of being a mother from when they were little, very little, to now where they're sort of like, they're my kids, but they're sort of friends at the same time. 11 and 13, they're becoming really having opinions and they're tweens and teens and becoming really independent. And that experience has been a complete, ever evolving milestone in my life. So those are the 3.
Fascinating. My next question to you is, what does success mean to Annie?
Success is laying my head on the pillow at night and being able to go,
well done.
I did good today. I did good today. Today was a good day. That's success.
Fantastic. In fact, I always tell people, the moment my head hits my pillow, I'm out like a light.
Yes.
And I hear you say exactly the same thing. Wonderful.
Yes.
That's a secure safe mind that you have, obviously. My next question to you, Annie, is who or what inspires you?
The people in my life that inspire me are the ones that wake up every day and decide, like you said, to give back and be in service to others. So it doesn't matter how much money you have or what it is exactly you're doing. But when you decide every day to live your life based on love, which by the way is tattooed right here on my wrist, love, it's so important to live your life from a place of love every single day, in every moment, in everything that you do. And the people that are inspirational to me are the ones that really can do that.
Wonderful. And my last question to you, Annie, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation. Based on your amazing journey as a corporate leader, now a coach, as an author, someone who's developed the breath framework, what would you say are 3 lessons you would want our viewers and listeners to take away from our conversation?
So I think that goes back to my core values. So I think number 1 is you need to be rooted in love. When you can act and be rooted in love every day in everything that you do, even the person that cuts you off in traffic. You can say, you know what, you have somewhere to go. You come from love. It's not your fault. And you come from this place from your heart and soul every single day. That's a lesson that I want to leave with people, to do that. It is a happier, more fulfilled life to live your life rooted in love. The second thing is perseverance. Don't give up. People are going to tell you that you're not going to make it. People are going to tell you, why don't you have if you're an entrepreneur, especially, why don't you have a job with a salary and a 401k, and, it's not going to work. This idea, there's a million coaches, there are a lot of coaches, but there's only one me, right? So understanding that you shouldn't give up, always have grit. And that's my Philadelphia girl in me that just has a ton of grit, and we don't give up here.
Yes.
The third thing is resilience. Learn and understand the definition of resilience and adaptability. Being able to come back from defeat, being able to not give up on when you have a failure. That is resilience. We all have, children are a great place to learn resilience.
Correct.
They have disappointments all the time. People are mean, their friends are mean, and they come right back. That's how we need to act as adults. So love, perseverance and grit, and resilience are my 3 lessons.
Fabulous, fabulous. And on that note, and your 3 amazing lessons, be rooted in love, perseverance is critical, don't give up, have the grit, and third is the resilience, and be adaptable. Thank you, Annie, for speaking to me. Thank you for speaking to me about your incredible journey to become a coach, and the incredible uniqueness that you bring with the different perspectives that you have developed. Thank you for speaking to me, and good luck.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website, www.tbcy.in, to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.